Mission Transition is a veteran led project started by Still Serving Veterans, a nonprofit that helps transitioning military members with all things employment as they look for civilian jobs. Oh, and it doesn't cost you a dime. Find out more at ssv.org. Anyway, here's retired Navy Chief Dave Lake.
Good afternoon. As Ethan said, I'm Dave Lakem. We're still serving veterans, and this is Mission Transition. Today, we're talking to Riccoh Player from Parade Deck, and Riccoh has an amazing career in the Marine Corps, and then even after the Marine Corps. And I love talking to folks like that who have taken their passion in uniform and continue to serve troops outside of the military. So it's going to be a great conversation today. Welcome, Riccoh. Thank you for being here.
Hey, Diamond Dave, thank you, my friend. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here because the mission that you're focused on, that transition is something else, my man. And I wasn't quite sure what I was getting into. You know, you say you're going to take the uniform off and go do what you're going to do. But once you're in it, it's a whole lot different.
That's right. But even more than that, a lot of folks, uh, they get out and they just want a paycheck. But it takes real tenacity, determination, drive, a great network wrapped around you to get out there and create your own organization and go make it successful, especially to the extent that you have. But before we dive too deep into that, you were, let's see, I'm sure you can say it better than I can, but the Marine Corps Press Secretary at the Pentagon, Public Affairs Officer to the Secretary of Defense, lots of other key positions, and a 2019 Emmy winner for the Marine Commandant's Message to the Corps, birthday message to the Corps. What an amazing accomplishment.
Well, thank you, Dave. It was not me alone. I had a tremendous team, put in a lot of energy and effort into that project. And Dave, I arrived at the Pentagon, and Rick Robinson, a phenomenal director and visionary, and he invited me to the Emmy Awards there when I first got on deck. And the Defense Media Agency, they were the top dog that year, and I was like, wow. They took all the awards and they worked for us. I mean, we were the senior agency. And I sat down with Rick and said, "Hey, my man, we can do this." So we put our energy and effort together and pushed the envelope outside the box of comfort for the commandant, and we ended up taking home the Golden Lady. So it was definitely a highlight of my tour there at the Pentagon.
Yeah, that's amazing. Ethan and I, shortly before we came on air, Ethan and I were watching that video, and I still got chills from it. That's such an incredible job. The first person in uniform to have achieved an Emmy. So good on you for sure. So you are at 33 years in the Marine Corps, retired at the rank of colonel. One thing I always ask everybody that we're interviewing, because everybody we interview is a veteran. Tell me what was your best day in the Marine Corps, your best assignment, best people to work with, the kind of assignments that made you sad to get out and wish you'd go back sometimes.
Wow, Dave. Now you remember this is a Marine you're talking with. The, 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 the the best day was every day that I was able to get up, Dave. Best assignment, by far was being the public affairs officer for Secretary Rumsfeld because it was only a 1 year gig, and we visited 25 countries during that tour. And that may sound but most of the time, Dave, I was behind a computer or at that time, tracking a fax or just in the trenches doing the heavy lifting to keep the secretary abreast of whatever the breaking issues were at the time. I enjoyed that tour because I was able to look and see behind the curtain. And one of the highlights was Secretary Rumsfeld would bring in the formers. It was a formers lunch. And he'd bring former secretaries of defense to the table, and they would talk about his most pressing issues. And he would get their take unvarnished on how they would handle the issue. He'd take everyone's input, and he ultimately made the call, but it gave him a perspective that, once you sit in the seat, you're qualified to answer some of those questions. So that was very revealing for me. But before that, Dave, was being stationed at Marine Barracks 8th and I, the oldest post in the Marine Corps. And that's where the name parade deck comes from. That was my first post. Lance Corporal Player reported to Marine Barracks 8th and I, and applied for a commission and all those other things. And that dash from 1989 dash 2023. I ended my career 2023 at the second oldest post of the Corps, Parris Island, South Carolina. So what happens on the parade deck? Exciting stuff. Promotions, pay, announcements, of course, parades. But if it's uplifting, if it's inspiring, if it's motivating, then it's appropriate on the parade deck, and hence paradedeck.com.
So why not just get out and cut ties and take all of your skills and experience and credentials that you've amassed while you're in uniform and go out there and do something where you could make, big giant money and just be a superstar. Why not do that?
Well, Dave, I mean, like you identified, everybody serves for different reasons, and I always, wanted to make a difference. There weren't a whole lot of folks that looked like me when I was coming up in the senior ranks, so I wanted to stay in the machine, kind of change the machine, and encourage someone who looks like me behind me or below me to, hey, you can do it too. So that's why I stuck around. But for everybody in the machine, you have an expiration date. So your shelf life is limited, and I would say maximize it, but remember to pull others up as you're climbing to help make a difference for whatever branch of service you're in.
So full disclosure, Still Serving Vets is one of the talents, so to speak, on parade deck. We've been working closely with Andrew and Shia. But tell us about Parade Deck. Why Parade Deck? What is Parade Deck? Parade Deck.
Great question. Parade deck's a lot of things, and I would say, Dave, it's like looking at art. A whole room full of people they're gonna see something different, but fundamentally, it's the number one go-to for military influencers, military podcasters, live streaming, and a whole lot more. That foundation for podcasters, that's our bread and butter because we tell folks, hey, if you're trying to be Seth Rogen or Oprah Winfrey or these big names, Parade Deck's not the place for you. But if you have an issue, a cause, a policy that is about military and veteran families and service members, active, reserve, retired, that served honorably, there's a place for you on Parade Deck. And we specialize, and our focus is, giving a voice to those folks who are drowned out on the YouTubes and the Instagrams and the Spotifys. You can be on those platforms, but a lot of times folks have to go digging for you. Not the case on paradedeck.com.
If you say, if you want to be the superstar or rock star, maybe it's not the place for you, but you get some big names on there. A lot of people recognize Chef Rush and Military Influencer Conference and of course NASA's on there. There's definitely some good names on there that people are going to. If they don't recognize them now, they're definitely going to because you get some real personalities on there. Who's your, for lack of a better term, who's your target market for folks that you'd wish to see on there, or the ones that are just knocking it out of the park that are going to help make you famous?
Dave, it's definitely not about my fame, okay? And we treat everybody the same. NASA, we're blessed to be working with NASA, and they are our largest contributor. But if you are a young podcaster, you have 10 folks or 5 or 10 or 15, that's okay. There's a place for you on Parade Deck because you're passionate about your craft, you're passionate about your message, then we can help train, coach, and mentor you to take you wherever your journey, your path is leading you. The Chef Rushes of the world are phenomenal. NASA, the Department of Veterans Affairs, those are all great organizations. But the one thing they have in common is a veteran community serving under their umbrella. And that's what Parade Day, that's the difference we make, Dave. We are a community. So our cumulative numbers is that community combined, and we can and learn from one another in that community. And I think that's the unique part of being aboard Parade Deck.
So I know the Military Influencer Conference isn't really your event per se, but from what I understand, y'all were pretty prominent there last year. What are your thoughts about it this year? Who should be going to that? What the heck is it? What do you think?
Dave, last year was my first year in attendance. The Military Influencers Conference reached out to me several times, but my schedule and was preparing to retire just never lined up. Last year it did, and we took the parade deck experience to Las Vegas. And the parade deck experiences, we'll have a main stage, and we'll have a side stage. On the main stage, if you're not on the Military Influencers Conference platform proper, you can come to the parade deck main stage. If you're young and kind of still figuring things out, we have a parade deck side stage. And what those things do is that the average military podcaster, they don't have an opportunity to be in front of the camera and talk about their mission, their passion, why they're into podcasting. And we bring that experience to them. I, I believe the Military Influencers Conference recognized what we were doing, and they saw firsthand the energy and the excitement we brought to the conference, and they invited us back this year as a partner, as an equal, and everything live streaming is going to be powered by Parade Deck. So we're making baby steps, Dave, and baby steps in the right direction.
So let me shift gears, shift topics here a little bit. So you just got out last year, and uh, we have so far tended to talk to relatively senior folks who I thought would be more difficult to get in touch with, but seem to be pretty willing to come out and speak with us. What was your impression of the transition out? What was your, did you go through any anxiety? Did you go through, any concern at all about what you were going to do and, the hanging up the uniform? What was your experience there?
All of that, Dave. It was overwhelming. And once I decided, and the Marine Corps helped me decide that okay, mission complete, and I need to start my exit strategy. I couldn't keep up, and the Marine Corps provided great resources, but there wasn't enough time because I had about a year to 8 months to a year to really develop my exit strategy, and the resources were there, but I felt rushed just because I didn't want the party to end. And it just didn't seem like there was enough time. So I shy away from giving advice, but I would strongly recommend that once you decide, if you can give yourself a 2 year runway, I think that will be time well invested in yourself and your family. It's not all doom and gloom, Dave. Don't get me wrong, but if I had had, an additional 6, 8, 12 months, things would have been stronger because I focused on full time documentary and feature filmmaking. And my mentor, Spencer Proffer, he's out in Hollywood. He's been there forever. He was first introduced to him with Rocking the Core, the 2005 party on Camp Pendleton's Beach, which we're going to air on Parade Deck April 1st. Selfless plug. Um, and he saw in me that I was pretty good at my public affairs job, but I also wanted to do film and documentary. So I was on his team under the Meteor 17 umbrella, and I worked on The Day the Music Died, Don McLean's American Pie. We talked about the lyrics behind that song and reinventing Elvis, his 68 comeback special. Elvis was an Army veteran. So I'm the military technical advisor on projects like that, and they're both doing extremely well. Then Hollywood shut down. There was the strike. So all the proposals and all the projects were either backburnered or dissolved completely. And that's when I pivoted to Parade Deck. So I tell that long story, Dave, to remind folks, hey, have a primary plan and an alternate, just in case things change, because life takes on its own direction, and you have to be flexible enough to pivot when the time is right.
So, I'm in another, parallel life. I'm a business and executive coach, and I tell people who are early in the business to begin with the end in mind. It's an old axiom, people have heard it 1,000 times, but they don't really think about it in terms of their military career. And I encourage those people who are early in their career to put a lot of thought into what you're doing today and how it's going to impact you, you know, 2 weeks after you get out of uniform. Because if you're, whether you've still got 25 years ahead of you before you get out of uniform or 25 months, you got to be thinking about what college degrees are going to help me to succeed when I get out. Is security clearance going to help me to succeed? What kind of network do I need to have? What kind of military experiences and commands and credentials do I need to be able to put on my resume to be able to make me instantly hireable on the way out the door. So begin with the end in mind means, start as soon as it's possible to take college courses, work towards a degree path, even if you're just getting the generals out of the way in the beginning, so you can work on the specifics later. But if you're reaching back to those people, you still know lots of people in uniform, and you have a giant megaphone and giant network in uniform, I'm sure. What's your advice to them to do today, this week, in anticipation of or in preparation for when you're going to get out?
Dave, without question, those transition classes, take advantage of them. And for me, I can only speak from my experience. That year of premium LinkedIn, that gold chip status, maximize it, because your network is your net worth, and I believe that 2,000%. I get no endorsement from LinkedIn. I think it's a great platform, and it's a tool. It's not the cure-all. It's not the panacea, but it is a great tool to have in your strategy and to maximize it. Because when that gold chip is working for you, it opens a lot of doors, and it enlarges your network exponentially right off the bat. So you get it free. They sign you up in at least for the Marine Corps they did, and I think across the services they do. You get it free for a year at the premium level. Take advantage of that.
For sure. Any good mechanic, they don't just go out the car with just a screwdriver. Right? Screwdriver is one tool, but what makes them really successful and capable is a box full of tools. And so take your time to build up that toolbox, because you never know when you're going to need a wrench instead of a screwdriver. And and so the more tools you have available to you to pull out to approach a problem, the more successful, more efficient, and effective you're going to be. So definitely, work on all of those. Look, LinkedIn is one tool, right? So you got VFW. Maybe you need to make use of the disabled American veterans, or maybe you're going to a regional area, like if you're just going to Texas and you want to talk to Combined Arms, or you need help. You got somebody like Still Serving Vets that's got you nailed down, that we're going to help you with the resume and the job search and the LinkedIn and all that. But you need another entity that's going to connect you directly to employers like Recruit Military or somebody. Having all of those various tools in your box, lining them up, familiarizing yourself with them now is what's going to make you, when I left the military, I knew very clearly my last tour in the Navy was going to be at NAVAIR headquarters. And I worked with my detailer for like almost 3 years to make
Mm.
sure that that was going to be the case when I left the Kitty Hawk. And so I made chief. 4 months later, I left the Kitty Hawk. I went to NavAir for 3 years, where I became program manager. I met the contractor company that I knew was going to be the company that was going to hire me, because I was going to spend 3 years impressing the heck out of them. And so I left the Navy on Friday. I started with them on Monday, and I worked with them for 6 years,
Wow.
in six figures, without a degree, with no credentials or anything. I'm a PMP now, but I wasn't then.
Mhm.
And for a chief to do that takes a lot of planning. So have a plan, and put it down on paper if you need to, map it all out, and then just take one goal at a time, to you'll be where you need to be when you want to be there.
Diamond Dave, you hit so many wickets. I couldn't even scribble them down fast enough. But in summarizing what you said, those who fail to plan to fail, and it's that simple. And I know it's cliche, but hope is not a course of action. You can hope and dream, but if there's no action behind it, then you're setting yourself up. And there are lots and lots of organizations out there, like Still Serving Veterans, that are dedicated to seeing veterans succeed. You're not, out there trying to fleece folks and lead them astray. You're there to say, hey, we have some resources that are available, and if we don't, we can vector you to the right folks that can help you out. The resources are there. Take advantage of them.
Yeah, absolutely, folks. Unfortunately, a lot of folks don't plan properly. Or, my son just finished up 4 years in the Marine Corps. People heard me say that several times now on this podcast. But in his time, he went and did the evacuation of Afghanistan, and he's always in training, one thing or another, and he just didn't feel like he had the opportunity to take college courses or to properly prepare for getting out. And so when the time came, he was like, "All right, Dad, you're going to have to help me." And luckily, I'm in a position to do that. But that feeling of isolation and a lack of proper preparation on the way out the door hits a lot of people. We were speaking to Sergeant Major Tilley last week, who I know you know,
Hmm.
12th Sergeant Major of the Army, and he one of his pet projects, which rightfully so, and lots of honor to him, is the suicide rate in uniform. And that's one of those things that really contributes to it is the what am I going to do? How am I going to support my family? Where am I going? And then all of a sudden you find yourself out of uniform and you didn't prepare properly, and you don't know who to turn to, and now what do I do? So I know that a lot of your speakers on Parade Deck address those kinds of problems. It's not just fitness, it's not just how to be an entrepreneur. It's how to get ahead and properly care for yourself and your family. And once you're out, who are some of the big uh, folks that come to mind that are those kinds of resources? And I realize you're the top of the pyramid, so you might be not be that deep in the weeds. But who are the folks that people need to be, you know, subscribing to on Parade Deck?
Dave, they should start with still serving veterans first and foremost. But I just had a lunch just 2 days ago with the executive director of the American Legion. Granted, I was not an American Legion fan until I became an ambassador for Reads Across America, and I did the convoy from Vermont to Arlington National Cemetery, hitting all the cemeteries along the way. And my shotgun battle buddy was Lisa Williamson, the auxiliary president for the American Legion. And I got it, Dave. It became clear to me what the American Legion brings to the table, how they fight for policy for you and me and everyone else who served honorably to make our lives better long term. And and they're fighting the same fight that the VA is fighting. Unfortunately, they're looked at as mom and pops, grandpas, veteran service organizations, and they're not that. They understand they have an image problem, and that's why they're working with Parade Deck to help the next generation who does everything through here meet them where they are. They're trying to innovate and get there, but you know the journey is different for everyone, like you've clearly identified. But the veteran support organizations are out there, veteran service organizations are out there, and it's just a matter of communicating and being willing to be just a little vulnerable to say, "Hey, I need help. What direction do I go in?" Because Dave, we're failing if a veteran turns to a permanent solution, taking their life for a temporary challenge. I don't see it as a problem because if you served honorably, you have the skill set. You just need some help, some trained coach, mentor, get you in the right vector and attack, attack, attack. So we have plenty of work cut out for us. And the American Legion says, "Be the one." That's their campaign, and they don't pay me anything. Okay, but I support what they're doing because they are sincere and genuine about supporting our service members.
Very well said. Well said. So I'm not going to touch that anymore because that's about as high a motivational point you can have there. Tell me about where Parade Deck is going, where you're going to be 2-3 years from now, and tell me what are you doing in Mick this year? What can we expect in August, September?
So you'll get some inside baseball. We'll have the main stage. You'll see parade decks scattered throughout the Military Influencers Conference. If folks are going for the first time, just go there with an open mind and do everything. And if you're listening to Still Serving, you come over to the parade deck main stage. You say, "Hey, Riccoh Player said that I drop his name, I can get on the stage, and let's see if that happens." I got your back. What's coming? We just acquired the National Veteran Podcast Day. We just acquired the Veteran Podcast Network and the Veteran Podcast Awards. And what that means, Dave, is that we noticed in this space that there's a lot of veteran podcasts, military podcasts out there. I'm trying to consolidate those and galvanize them and protect them from some of the, unsavory stuff that's out there, because you shouldn't have to pay to be recognized for the great work you're doing. You meet the criteria, we'll evaluate it. If you're there, you'll earn the award. So that's one of our main initiatives. Where we are down the road, Dave, I mean, remember, we're a startup. I've been in the seat for 8 months. So to be fair, you got to give me at least a year in the seat, and then you and I sit down and assess, because this is still new terrain for me on a whole lot of fronts. But having fun, taking care of veterans, and we're focused on being innovative and busting the box wide open, and just every life we save, every homeless veteran we pull off the street, that's what success looks like, Dave. So down the road, if Parade Deck is instrumental in making those things happen, then I've served well, my friend.
Well, that sounds great. We look forward to it, and we look forward to being part of it. You guys have been great for the time that we've been working together, and I know it's only going to be good things for you and us both,
Thank
and
you.
us together. So, Riccoh, I really, really appreciate you being here. Is there any message, any by the ways, any advertisements that we need to let everybody know about that's coming up that they need to be watching for?
I would be remiss if I didn't say, hey, stay plugged into ParadeDeck.com, and we do have the app in development. It's on the way, and that'll put a lot more content at folks' fingertips. So exciting things are percolating on Parade Deck. Stay tuned.
So we'll have the links to Parade Deck and to Riccoh's LinkedIn account, so you can message him and add him to your connection list in our description. Of course, how to get in touch with SSV will be in there as well. If you need to tap into the knowledge base that's out there for various veteran service organizations, if you need to build your personal veteran network and tribe, if you're looking for the tribe that fits you perfectly, and how to connect with them and how to tap into their knowledge base, check out Parade Deck for sure. And jump back in. Just because you're not in uniform doesn't mean that your battle buddies out there don't love you and miss you, and want to be part of your life. There's no reason for anybody who was in uniform, who no longer is, to feel isolated or that they're alone in any way, because we're absolutely out there for you. For now, Riccoh, thank you again so much for being here. I feel like I got a chance to talk for half hour to a real superstar out there. Congratulations on capstone events in your career, and I know you're just going to be amazing going forward.
Dave, you're a blue chip professional. Thank you for your time, your professionalism, and keep making a difference in veterans' lives. It's truly appreciated.
Thank you so much. Everybody, have a great day, and we will see you in the next one.
Hurrah.
Thanks for tuning in. Mission Transition, a podcast for veterans. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, or maybe even want to be on the podcast, shoot us an email at social@ssv.org.